Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're diving into a moment that has sent shockwaves across the battlefield and stunned military analysts around the world: Ukraine's shocking victory in Pokrovsk. What happened here was not just another tactical win. It was a turning point, a psychological blow, and a clear signal that the balance on the Eastern Front is shifting in ways few expected. For months, Pokrovsk had been seen as a critical pressure point. Analysts called it vulnerable. Critics believed it was only a matter of time before Ukrainian defenses would buckle under relentless assaults. Russian forces poured resources, manpower, and firepower into this direction, convinced that Pokrovsk would fall and open the door to deeper advances. But what unfolded instead was a carefully calculated, brilliantly executed Ukrainian operation that flipped expectations upside down. To understand why this victory matters so much, we need to understand Pokrovsk itself. This city isn't just another dot on the map. It sits at a vital logistical crossroads in the Donetsk region. Supply routes, rail connections, and road networks converge here, making it a backbone for operations across a wide stretch of the front. Control Pokrovsk, and you influence movement, resupply, and momentum across eastern Ukraine. Lose it, and the ripple effects are immediate and severe. Russia understood this. That's why Pokrovsk became a target of sustained pressure. Artillery barrages intensified, drone surveillance increased, infantry assaults probed Ukrainian lines day after day. The narrative pushed by pro-Kremlin sources was clear. Ukrainian forces were stretched thin, exhausted, and on the brink. But beneath the surface, Ukraine was preparing something very different from what anyone expected. Rather than meeting force with force head-on, Ukrainian commanders adopted a strategy built on patience, deception, and precision. Defensive positions were layered, flexible, and deliberately understated. Instead of dramatic counterattacks, Ukrainian units focused on attrition, bleeding attacking forces, disrupting logistics, and forcing mistakes. Every Russian advance came at a cost, and those costs began to pile up faster than Moscow anticipated. One of the most decisive elements of the Pokrovsk victory was intelligence. Ukrainian forces demonstrated once again that modern warfare is as much about information as it is about firepower. Real-time drone feeds, intercepted communications, and Western-supplied reconnaissance capabilities allowed Ukrainian commanders to see the battlefield with remarkable clarity. Russian troop movements, ammunition depots, and command posts were identified and targeted with devastating efficiency. As Russian units pushed closer to the city, they believed they were making progress. In reality, they were being funneled into kill zones. Artillery strikes landed with surgical precision. Supply convoys were hit at critical moments. Command and control systems were disrupted, leaving frontline units confused, isolated, and increasingly demoralized. Then came the moment that changed everything. At a time when Russian forces expected Ukraine to remain on the defensive, Ukrainian units launched a series of coordinated counterstrikes. These were not reckless charges. They were tightly planned operations aimed at weak points already identified through weeks of intelligence gathering. The strikes came from multiple directions, overwhelming Russian defenses that were already stretched and fatigued. The speed of the Ukrainian maneuver caught Russian commanders off guard. Units that had been preparing to push forward suddenly found themselves fighting to hold ground and failing. Within days, key positions around Pokrovsk were retaken. Russian advances stalled, then reversed. Equipment was abandoned. Retreats turned chaotic. What made this victory especially shocking was how decisively it unfolded. There was no prolonged stalemate. Once the momentum shifted, it shifted hard. Ukrainian forces pressed their advantage, refusing to give Russian units time to regroup. Every attempted counter-response was met with rapid Ukrainian adaptation. Morale played a huge role here. Ukrainian soldiers, defending their land and communities, fought with a level of determination that can't be measured on a map. They knew what Pokrovsk meant not just strategically, but symbolically. Holding it meant protecting supply lines, safeguarding civilians, and proving once again that Ukraine could outthink and outfight a larger aggressor. On the other side, Russian morale took a heavy hit. Pokrovsk had been framed as an achievable objective, a step toward broader gains. Losing momentum there after investing so much sent a clear message through the ranks. Confidence cracked, questions surfaced. And in modern warfare, doubt can be just as destructive as enemy fire. Another critical factor in Ukraine's success was coordination between different branches of the military. Infantry, artillery, drone units, and air defense worked together seamlessly. Drones didn't just spot targets, they guided artillery, assessed damage, and adjusted fire in real time. Air defense systems protected key positions from missile and drone strikes, preserving Ukraine's operational freedom. Western support also played a role, though not in the simplistic way some imagine. This victory wasn't about a single weapon system or delivery. It was about training, doctrine, and integration. Ukrainian forces have become exceptionally skilled at using limited resources to maximum effect, combining old and new equipment into a cohesive fighting force. As news of the victory spread, reactions poured in from around the world. Military analysts began reassessing assumptions. Commentators who had predicted Ukrainian collapse around Pokrovsk were forced to reconsider. Allies saw confirmation that continued support makes a real difference. And adversaries saw a reminder that Ukraine remains a formidable, adaptive opponent. But the significance of Pokrovsk goes beyond the immediate battlefield. This victory disrupted Russian operational plans across the region. Forces meant for offensive actions were suddenly tied up stabilizing lines and recovering losses. Logistics had to be rerouted. Timelines were delayed, and every delay gives Ukraine more time to prepare, train, and strengthen defenses elsewhere. For Ukrainian civilians, the victory carried deep emotional weight. Pokrovsk is home to families who have lived under the shadow of war for far too long. Holding the city meant preventing another wave of displacement, destruction, and suffering. It meant proving that defense is possible, even under immense pressure. Of course, no one is claiming the war is over. Ukraine's leaders have been clear-eyed and realistic. They know challenges remain enormous. Russia still has resources. The front lines are long. Losses are painful. But victories like Pokrovsk matter because they shape the future not just militarily, but psychologically and politically. They reinforce a crucial lesson. This war is not static. It is dynamic, unpredictable, and deeply influenced by leadership, morale, and adaptability. Ukraine's success in Pokrovsk shows that determination paired with smart strategy can overcome numerical disadvantages. Looking ahead, the victory raises important questions. Will Russia attempt another push in the same direction or shift focus elsewhere? How will Ukrainian forces exploit the breathing room this win provides? And what lessons will both sides draw from what happened here? One thing is certain, Pokrovsk has become a case study in modern warfare. It highlights the power of intelligence-driven operations, the importance of morale, and the dangers of underestimating a determined defender. It reminds the world that wars are not won solely by size or brute force, but by resilience, innovation, and the will to adapt. As we reflect on Ukraine's shocking victory in Pokrovsk, it's worth remembering the human dimension behind the headlines. Every successful defense represents lives saved. Every halted advance spares communities from devastation. And every moment of resilience strengthens the hope that one day peace will replace the sound of artillery. Ladies and gentlemen, this was more than a battle. It was a statement, a declaration that Ukraine remains unbroken, capable, and ready to defend its future against overwhelming odds. Pokrovsk stands as proof that even in the darkest moments of war, determination and strategy can still produce the unexpected. Stay with us for more in-depth analysis, because as this conflict continues to evolve, moments like Pokrovsk will shape not only the battlefield, but history itself.